You never had control, and no one ever told you. We live in a world that taught you to endure, to suffer in silence, to carry pain as if it were a virtue. But there's a truth almost no one dares to say. Pain without meaning will poison you. It rots from the inside, erodes the soul, and becomes pure venom. How many times have you heard, suffering is part of life? It's just a phase. It will make you stronger. Lies disguised as wisdom, ready-made narratives that keep the system running, because a broken human being is easier to control. But Viktor Frankl saw deeper. He survived the Holocaust and uncovered what most still ignore today. Suffering without meaning is destruction in disguise. Think about it. You wake up every day into a life you didn't choose. You work for something you don't believe in. You love with fear. You suffer in silence and you still blame yourself for not being okay. The problem is not pain. The problem is pain with no purpose. That's when suffering becomes torture. Since childhood, you were taught to suffer in silence, to avoid asking questions, to never show weakness, because feeling pain became weakness, and enduring pain became strength. But this logic was programmed. You didn't choose to think this way. You were conditioned, by parents repeating what they were told, by schools that shaped obedient soldiers, by religions that traded faith for guilt, by a system that profits from your suffering. They want you to adapt, to accept emptiness as part of adulthood, to normalize anxiety, burnout, exhaustion, and to call all of it responsibility. But when did suffering become the new normal? Frankl said that when life loses meaning, man loses the will to live. And what do they do to those who lose that will? They medicate them. They diagnose it as a personal failure. They never seek the root of the pain, because the truth is more disturbing than any symptom. You were taught to endure, but you were never taught to ask, why? Why am I feeling this way? Why has this pain been here for so long? What is it trying to show me? Most people don't want to know, because if they discover the truth, they'll have to change, and change hurts more than staying in the cage. There's a part of you that you hide, even from yourself. It lives in the dark corners of the mind, in unhealed traumas, in choices you keep repeating without knowing why, in impulses you condemn, but can't seem to stop. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the rejected side of your identity, what you learn to silence, repress, ignore, but it never disappears. On the contrary, it grows stronger in silence. And what does this have to do with suffering? Everything. Because pain that isn't understood merges with the shadow. It becomes repressed anger, a desire to disappear, chronic fatigue, or an emptiness no time or person can fill. The shadow is formed from the parts of you that were labeled wrong. Sensitivity became weakness. Anger became ingratitude. Questioning became rebellion. Vulnerability became shame. So you put on masks. You dressed yourself in who others expected you to be. You tried to fit into molds that suffocated you. And the more you fit in, the more you lost yourself. The pain you feel today might not be new. It may be the muffled scream of a shadow you never faced. And ignoring it is like walking with a thorn in your chest hoping time will heal it. But time does not heal what you refuse to confront. There comes a point when pain no longer paralyzes. It transforms, becomes fire, the urge to break free, a thirst for truth. It's when suffering stops being poison and becomes fuel. You look around and realize nothing makes sense anymore. The job, the relationships, the obligations that drain you, the routine that numbs you, and in that moment, something within you begins to awaken. It's not pretty. It's not peaceful. It's chaotic, painful, and real. You start to see the chains, to notice the conditioning, to understand that many of your choices were never truly yours. They were programmed. Automatic responses to trauma, fear, expectation. This is the beginning of the inner rebellion, not against the world, but against the version of yourself that was shaped to survive but not to live. You begin to reject the obvious, to doubt the normal, to question everything you once accepted without thought. And that shift is dangerous, because those who awaken disturb, those who question threaten, those who leave the system are called insane. But here's the truth. Insanity is staying asleep while your soul screams. After the collapse comes silence, not the silence of the end, but of clarity, as if for the first time you could hear your own voice without the noise of the world, without the masks, without the weight of pleasing everyone. It is in this conscious emptiness that the rebuilding begins. But now, with new rules. Rules not imposed from outside, but born from within. You begin to notice the mental codes that programmed you. I can't fail. I have to earn love. I must be strong all the time. Then you question them, break them, replace them with inner truths. I can try again. I'm worthy just for existing. My vulnerability is my power. This reprogramming doesn't happen overnight. It requires attention, presence, and the courage to unlearn everything that once kept you trapped. You're not fixing who you were. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. True freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's no longer being controlled by impulses you didn't even know were cages. You've made it this far, survived the lies, questioned the pain, faced the shadow, and began the rebuilding. But now the final question echoes. What is truth? And what is still illusion? We live in a reality where everything can be manipulated, even awakening, even freedom. The system has learned to sell revolution. It turned consciousness into a product, and spirituality into distraction. That's why the final step is the hardest. Discernment. To discern between the voice that frees and the one that only offers another cage. Prettier, but still a cage. Frankl believed that humans only find meaning when they take responsibility for choosing their own path. Not the easiest, not the most accepted, but the truest. The pain that once was poison and is now a compass. It points toward what was ignored, toward what needs to be healed, toward what still needs to be lived. And maybe now you realize, you're not here by accident. Maybe pain brought you here. But it's awareness that will keep you moving. The world will keep trying to put you back to sleep. But now, you've seen too much to close your eyes again.